Hello, and welcome to another episode of Automate Office Work. I'm your host, Justin, and today's episode is Build versus Buy. And we've got a great guest today, Dom. Would you like to introduce yourself? And we just met. I don't even know how to pronounce your last name, in the French way or the Italian way? Or is there a
Italian
different
way.
way?
It's why many of my dummy platforms that I build normally have spaghetti hidden in there as an Easter egg somewhere. But so Dom Conte. So yeah, great to meet you. I love that we've just met and now we're streaming live on LinkedIn. That's awesome. The world that we live in, right? So yeah. So briefly, I trained as a lawyer in big law. Practiced there at Hogan Lovells and a law firm called Gowling for a number of years, and then jumped across into the world of AI and was part of the founding team of a company called Avail, which was basically real estate AI. So we built real estate AI platforms for commercial property lawyers, and then we ended up with a huge number of law firms as clients, huge. And this was kind of just as the LLM wave was rippling through the industry. So we were kind of peak time to be in that space, and left in December to start Purple. And Purple is essentially an advocate for build over buy. So we believe that the future of law and the future of law for law firms specifically, in-house teams to an extent, but mainly law firms is who we speak to, and we're talking kind of top 50 firms in the US and the UK, is to differentiate through building rather than buying. And
Mhm.
that is basically what I do now. So we help law firms uncover different pain points, uncover ideas that can be solved with technology and AI. We help them prototype it. We help them build out those full platforms, and we ensure that when those law firms do build, they don't fall into all the traps that many firms over the years have fallen into, whether that's adoption traps, whether that's UX or UI traps, whether that's just full stop, they're not using the right technology or the right base. And we're helping these firms differentiate. We're helping them stand out. We're helping them to find their voice in a world where all of the air is being taken up by the VC backed beasts that are
Mhm.
out there. Putting out a press release every kind of second or third day. So yeah, that's a bit about me and what I do, and it's a great time to be doing it. It's a very exciting world out there.
That's awesome. Yeah. I was an in-house lawyer, and
Mm,
I'm an American, so I had to go study something else. Americans don't go straight to law school. We have to
yeah.
study something else for 4 years. So I studied computers and I studied
Oh,
linguistics.
interesting.
Um,
Okay.
my plan was actually to work for the CIA, and I interviewed with them for over a year. Yeah, I'm fluent in a lot of languages, and I lived around Moscow and Minsk for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I was a Christian missionary, so I
Oh,
was
amazing.
manipulating people to like change their behavior, which the
Yeah.
CIA loves.
Yeah. I bet they really lean into that, right? And now
Yeah.
what you're manipulating people to build rather than buy. You've got a different angle for your pitch
Well,
skills.
I kind of had to pivot once I didn't make it in, and I thought, what else will allow me to live internationally? And
Mm,
I pinned it down to international lawyer. So now I'm living outside of Amsterdam the last 11 years. So I'm
yeah.
living internationally just like I wanted to. But I started working in-house for a giant American corporation, and I realized like I could actually use my computer skills. So that's what I started doing. I just
Yeah.
opened up Microsoft Office and I started automating the hell out of everything. And this was like back in 2015,
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
the LLM craze. So yeah, I've
So
just
that's
I
super interesting because you don't get many lawyers with a computer science background, right? It's a very unusual crossover, I think, between the two. And one of the big problems in our industry is that you don't get those.
the
I once had
imagination.
the
Yeah.
imagination, the creativity, but also just the skill set to be able to visualize the art of the possible and to go, okay,
Mhm.
so I could see how that could work from a technical perspective. There was way back I've had various businesses over the years. I'm a kind of a multi-founder, and my one of my very first businesses, I had this philanthropic investor who was part of our seed round. Really nice guy, and he sat me down in this very posh hotel, gave me a very nice coffee, I remember, and he said what I look for to back are spanners. And now I don't know how the word spanner translates in the US. In the UK, it's a bit of an insult. You don't really want to be
I
called a
think it's a
spanner.
wrench. You use it as a tool
Yeah,
to like tighten and loosen bolts.
but you know, if you call someone a spanner in the UK, it is an insult. And so I thought
I
this
was
guy
looking
was
for him.
insulting me, right? And
Yeah.
actually what he meant, and he explained it, and so we became friends, was that he wanted people with one foot in one industry and another foot in a second industry, and they basically
Uh-huh.
bridged it. And that was his, like, spanning those two industries. So I told him he needs to
Mm.
change his terminology. But apart from that, I've taken that lesson, and you are a spanner because you started in one and you went into another, and you have
You cross
bridged the
them.
two, right? And that's a cool skill set to have. That I think
I
that's
think of
something that more
myself as
people
a
learn.
like a multilingual person. Like I can speak the language of law and I can speak the language of technology.
Yeah, I mean that's a much better way of putting it. You'll insult fewer people saying it that way, but yeah, it's an interesting mix. And how, out of interest, how have you found having the brain of a computer science background going into law? Because I always found that I faced a lot of resistance, especially when I was a junior, a lot of resistance in actually using those skills. People thought that this is not the way to do things.
Wow. So I had mixed. So I did it
Mm,
for I was in a company for 10 years.
yeah.
My immediate manager and his manager were very supportive.
Mm.
They thought that what I was doing was magic and nobody else could do it. So they changed my role.
Yeah.
That became my role, systems and processes.
Uh,
Um, Higher up, they were not as happy about it.
mm,
You can't blame them. You have to show grace to these people, right? Like they never studied process or computers. All they studied was law, right?
mm, yeah.
So when you
Yeah.
show them like, hey, there's a different way to do this, there's suddenly like, wait, that's not the way we do things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, one interesting, I still remember the very first time when I used that side of the brain. I was a trainee lawyer, and you know, classic legal trainee task, doing a definition check on a document, go through and read all the terms that have got a capital letter and make sure they're defined, and then do a reverse definition check, you know, back to front, front to back. And it was a finance document, so you know, 200-300 pages of just quite dense material. And I went, you know what? I'm going to build a macro to do this. And I built a macro in Word, and it was
Uh-huh.
beautiful. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. And I ran it. Maybe took me 10 minutes to write the macro. It ran it. It picked up all the defined terms. It flagged everything that I needed to identify. And then I went and I showed my supervisor. And I went, look, I've done it. She goes, oh, that's really cool. Now go and do it manually. Why? Because you just need to make sure that it's done it right. Okay, so you think my brain it's, I mean, I take it as a compliment. You think my brain is better than this machine approach, you know, that's literally picking up programmatically everything. Anyway, so I had to go off and do it manually. And that's a really good example, I think, of how sometimes, well, maybe not so much now, but definitely years ago, a few years ago, people were struggling to actually understand how to apply that brain, how spanners could be so useful. Whereas now, I think everyone's trying to hire spanners. Um,
Mhm.
I think it's a, yeah, very different world that we find ourselves in. You can just see the amount of chief AI officers that are popping up around, not just law firms, but in house as well, right? You know, AI officers everywhere. Um, and their background's also interesting because they tend to be more computer sciencey than industry. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a balance. It's an interesting mix. So how,
Okay.
how much stuff did you end up doing in house? Like how much tech did you end up building over the years?
A lot. So I automated like every single thing that I did because
Mm,
in-house, I know your experience is in a law firm.
yeah, mine's
In-house
private
is
practice.
much more like you get everything thrown at you. You get
Mm.
like like there's a cybersecurity incident. Let's bring in the lawyers. Like, what are we supposed to do? What are we
Yeah,
supposed to do with cybersecurity? You
the
know,
four
like
GCs who are sat there trying to just learn everything on the spot. Yeah.
mhm. There was a hurricane in the area, and a tree came down on the roof of the building. Insurance. Let's get legal involved. Like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know insurance. Like,
You
so we got
automated the tree,
everything.
right? That was your automation as well. It was all legal.
Yeah. So
Um,
what I focused on, especially pre chatbots,
mm,
was the administrative part of everything that I did. Um,
mm,
I I did an analysis of like how much legal work I actually did, like negotiating and generating contracts. It was only like 15% of my time. The
Mm.
huge amount of my time, the 85%, was actually all this admin work. It was chasing the emails,
Yeah,
making sure that
the
the right
churn.
person approved. And oh, they didn't email me back. So now I have to email them again. It was just all these
Mm.
chaser emails and updating spreadsheet. There were these random spreadsheets everywhere.
Well, it's exactly the same in private practice, right? If you look at your typical
Mm,
M&A deal, the majority of time spent on that deal is not looking at the documents, it's not negotiating, it's just figuring out who to send them to, who in your team is reviewing what, where everything has got to, what are the risks that you need to cover off in the next call with the client. It is that administrative churn that just drags everything
mhm,
down, especially in a time-based industry, private practice. That time-based model is so susceptible to those small movements in efficiency. Um, and I think it's very interesting if you look at most of the vendor-led technology at the moment, none of it really addresses that. It's all
uh-huh.
very, it's very
It goes
interesting, isn't
straight to
it?
the tip of the spear.
Straight to the
It,
tip of the
it,
spear. Good, great analogy. And they, drafting and research and
it's the
and
stuff the
marking up
lawyers
on
want to do,
playbooks.
but they're too
Yeah.
busy with other
You
crap.
see, that's an interesting point because I've seen a few of my lawyer friends going, well, actually, I quite enjoy that stuff.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to be
If I just had
spending
time
time
for it.
figuring out the admin if I just had time for it. And I
Mhm.
think, I mean, what do you think? We both know where we stand on this issue around buy versus build, right? We know
Build.
that we think build is the way forward, but for different reasons. And one of my
Mm,
reasons is that I think that the vendor market has basically led with technology rather than problems,
mhm,
and it has dived straight into, well, this tech can do this in marketing, therefore let's just apply it to law and find the closest analogy we can in the law to this particular thing that it's solving elsewhere, without going, well, what does an M&A lawyer really do on a daily basis? What does an IP lawyer do on a daily basis? What does a medical negligence lawyer do on a daily basis? These are different people with different jobs, completely different jobs, as you know, right? It's just different work streams, different workflows, different problems on a daily basis. So, I mean, what's apart from that you've done it and so you know the effectiveness of it? What's your angle? What do you think?
yeah, exactly. You have to start with the actual problem.
Mm,
Um, I see AI as like this giant tool, and people
yeah.
think that the tool will solve everything. And then you ask them, like, well, what exactly will it do? And there's no real answer. They just say it'll do
Mm,
everything, and they can't point to anything it actually does.
mm,
So you need to be able to find problems. Uh, you can only see the problems that you're able to see, right? So it's kind of a human
yeah.
brain kind of a thing. You have to open up your mind and have the imagination to be able to see it. Then once you see the problem, you need to be able to break it down, kind of like in an
Mm,
engineering kind of a way. You need to break something complex down into simpler pieces. And then you
mm,
solve the simpler pieces one at a time.
mm,
Even if you don't necessarily build the solution, at least you know what the solution looks like.
mm,
And the solution is usually what solves the problem. So, like, if you can see the problem, the solution defines itself. It's whatever
mm,
solves the problem. Now you have a bunch of things like how to solve this problem. You can go build it yourself, or you can go have a conversation with somebody else who can build it, like your IT department
mm,
or a vendor, but then you can have an actual conversation. Without this, I don't see how you can actually just go buy something. You don't
yeah.
even know what you're buying.
Yeah, and actually, it's interesting. I'm speaking to a lot of law firm leaders in recent days who have said that
Mm.
they're kind of tired of vendors telling them what their problems are. Because you
They
you
don't
find
ask.
they don't ask, they tell you because they've designed a solution to something which they have asserted is a problem, and so they have to make that assertion, otherwise their solution doesn't fit your use case and they can't sell it to you. And
Mm.
it's an
They only have
interesting
one
kind of,
solution.
they only have one solution to one problem, or I mean that okay, there is a generalization there. There are some very, very powerful solutions out there that do lots of things, but um, I always find it quite interesting that the word co-development, because sometimes law firms, and I don't know if it's the same as in-house, they try and solve the build problem by saying, oh, we'll co-develop with vendors. And look, I've built a vendor company. I know the reality of what co-development means, and you just have to look at what is going on in the market right now with the big beasts that are out there to understand that there's only so far that a vendor can go in
Hmm.
developing something bespoke for you. They have to essentially build their roadmap around the lowest common denominator because they've got what, a couple of hundred law firms to their clients. They don't all want this
Hmm.
special little thing that you do, and there's only so much resource they can put into that relationship with a single law firm because their VC backer is telling them you've got to grow by X amount next year. Um,
You
yeah,
have to
well,
build the solution to your own problem, not
mm,
somebody else's.
yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
like in a way, vendors are getting it wrong. They're trying to build a solution to somebody else's problem. They don't know the problem. The problems are unique. I would also argue that if you do start customizing your solution to like the thousandth degree, after a while, your solution is too complex. Somebody
Yeah.
can't just take it and like set it up. They have
Mm,
to go through thousands of parameters now.
and you might well have built it yourself to begin with by the time you've customized some solutions to that point. I mean, especially some of the more kind of like low code solutions, you're doing most
Mhm,
of the hard work in someone else's walled garden. You're basically buying into that vendor's roadmap and that vendor's cycle.
mhm.
Then again, I mean, and you must have seen this. There are some big risks around build.
In Office
Risks that,
365. Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, yeah, but I
Microsoft
just
goes off and changes things.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But I just mean generally, if you're going to go and build your own solutions, right, and you don't bring in the
You
right
better know
people,
it.
yeah, yeah. There's there's UX challenges, there's UI challenges. If you ask a lawyer what they want from their tech, they'll probably give you a glorified spreadsheet. So coming almost back to our first point around, you need to be able to understand the problem you're building for, but you also need to act as that almost that vector, that translation layer into, okay, I hear
Mm,
you, I know what you're trying to solve, and I'm going
the
to
bilingual
basically
person.
the bilingual person, and I'm going to give you the real translation of what you're saying here into
Uh-huh.
technology. So you think you want this, but actually you don't. You actually want something else. So I don't know, like an example that we've seen is, oh, I want something that automatically drafts document X. But the real problem when you translated it was, I need something that surfaces my precedents faster. So the
Hmm.
tech we built was to surface the precedents faster. They didn't want
Hmm.
something that could draft things faster. And so like that
Hmm.
translation is quite hard. And I'm not sure law firms have quite nailed the art of translating that into a proper build process. So
Hmm.
even though we both advocate for this,
Hmm.
there are those difficulties. How, I mean, in-house, similar problems, right? There must be around putting those resources in, being able to picture what's possible.
Yeah. And the big problem is that people don't have the imagination of what's possible. A lot of times, what you have in house is just a budget, and you're told, like, okay, let's go throw money at this. Somebody
Mm,
else must know the problem better than we do.
mm, mm. Do they
And
just
it
try
just
and
doesn't
kind of
work.
find the right person internally in-house? They don't necessarily look
Not for
externally for
building.
help.
Not for building. No, they
Mm,
like even a lot of IT departments are not built to build anymore. They're just procurement services.
yeah. How do you think? Um, I mean that resonates. That really resonates with me.
Mm,
Maybe even, well, in private practice, I'd say IT teams end up being more kind of BAU, infrastructure maintenance.
mhm.
I can definitely see how in-house IT teams can be even more streamlined to the point where they are just procurement and just kind of buying systems off the shelf. How I do struggle to figure out a universal answer to how to get over that problem, because I mean we live in a world where,
Ah,
uh, if you're really good you're very a skilled AI engineer, are you going to go and work for a small in-house IT team, a law firm's IT team? The answer is probably not. You might, I'm sure there's good people out there, but you're probably going to work for Meta or for someone like that, OpenAI, because frankly, they're paying you 20 times more. And that's the career path you probably went and studied computer science to actually achieve. So there's an interesting point around a skills shortage in law to actually implement the build dream. What have you
I,
seen?
so I think this is why Microsoft opened up their environment with the no code, low code things,
Mm,
because there are not enough engineers to provide all the solutions that are needed.
mm,
And so they opened it up. It's there. And I don't see companies using it that much. It's more like I just kind of I fell into it. I
mm.
opened up Microsoft Office and I saw like, wait, I can do stuff.
Do you mean like
There's
their
automation tools.
agent builder and that sort of copilot
Well, even
related
before this,
builders?
there was Power Automate
Yeah,
and Power BI,
yeah,
and there was a
yeah.
thing called Power Apps.
Mm,
Um, and I discovered I could do everything just with those. It was connected. Like once you do an action somewhere, you can connect it to everywhere else. And then there are
mm,
also like these outside connectors. You can connect to outside things, and then you can connect to APIs. So you can connect with any other technology that's out there.
mm.
And I started building this, and I got some strange looks in my legal department, and people asked me, did you get permission from IT to do this? And I was like, was I supposed to? IT gave this to us. And then
We
they're
have
like, well, you
access.
need to do a security audit. And I was like, okay, IT, audit my thing security wise. And
Mm,
like their very first question, is this in Microsoft Office? Yes, it is. Okay, so that checks off all of our 10 boxes. You're good.
yeah,
We
yeah,
we
yeah,
provided it for you. So it's like IT is changing.
yeah.
IT is not providing solutions. They're providing you the tools, and you can go do it if you're ready for it. One question I have for you
Mm.
is innovation something that is universal that all people can do? Or is it actually something rare that only like 1% of the population can see what's possible in the future?
Oh, I mean, that's a good
Is
question.
everybody an
It,
Einstein?
it's a question. That's a psychology question. I love this because I have
Mhm,
a very strong view here around how as lawyers you are trained to think in between the lines. This is our entire industry. Here are your guardrails. Do not go outside these guardrails because my God, someone will sue you or a regulator will come after you. And so for your entire career, you're told and you're essentially beaten. It's like pushing a I don't know, like a square into a triangular
stay in
hole,
these
right?
lines.
Yeah, stay in these lines. And then one day, Justin, one day they come along and they say, you are now on the innovation committee. And you go,
Wow.
okay, what does that mean? You go, well, get in that room and go innovate. And that in itself is a big problem in private practice, is that you can't
Mm-mm.
deprogram people from decades of thinking in between the lines overnight. And
Mhm.
it's not, people are trying, people are really trying. It's not about a lack of will. But if you have not got training in how to be creative, how to think about problems from different angles, how to actually articulate problems in a way that you can then articulate a good solution, then you don't really achieve what you've been to achieve. There's a very, very high failure rate for innovation committees in the UK and law
Mhm.
firms, very, very high. Um, they get together, they do some stuff for a couple of years, they're disbanded, or momentum dies. You interview partners who have been on them and they go, well, it's interesting, we get a lot of vendor demos, but actually I don't feel like as a committee we've achieved very much. We haven't innovated for our firm, we haven't changed the rules. So I think in law, the objective evidence suggests that innovators are rare, because I
I
think
would
in
say the same.
do you agree? And do you see that in
Mhm.
in-house as well? Do you think that's a problem?
Microsoft provided these tools for everybody, and nobody is using them.
Yeah.
It's a mindset, and I don't know that it's a mindset that you can actually teach. Because in 2020 with COVID, I
Mm,
created my website, which is Automate Office Work, and it started. Well, I was still in house, But I
Mm,
started giving tutorials like, this is how you build automations, and you can automate everything, guys. And I found that there wasn't much traction. Nobody actually wants to automate. They're not innovative.
mm.
There's very few people that this resonates with.
I think things are changing. I mean, certainly with the firms we speak to, I think there
Mm,
is a recognition that something needs to change in just the approach. So that is why people engage Purple, for example, because we come in and we help them think outside the lines. But because a lot of us are ex-lawyers, my business partner is an ex-law firm founder. We understand their business intimately, so they don't need to spend 2 months explaining how a law firm works, the politics of a law firm, the politics of adoption, all this sort of stuff, right? We get it because we've lived that life, but we're also very creative people, and have been for
mhm.
a long time, being ex AI founders ourselves. So I think there is that recognition that it needs to change, but I do think that um, generally speaking, in-house and private practice are just not very good at recognizing the true innovators within their firm, because seniority does not necessarily
Yeah.
equal innovation seniority, right? The best people to innovate are probably the juniors. They're the people on the ground.
Uh-huh.
They're the sometimes the
But they're told,
trainees.
keep your head down.
Keep your head down, think in between the lines, work hard, and you'll go up the ladder. It's that kind of
It-
corporate dream that you're sold. But God, I mean,
uh-huh.
TikTok generation who have grown up on reels and gamification, and if you say gamification to a lawyer and you relate it to the law, they have a mini heart attack sometimes, because they go, oh God, no, that sounds a bit risky. um
Mm.
yeah, it's
So I,
fascinating.
I see that there's a big need for people like you and your company, or a person
Mm,
like myself. We really act as like an advisor
yeah.
to the client, and it's not just like a slave listening to a master. It's like we really are your counselor. It's like, let us
Mm,
be your Merlin. You be the King Arthur. You go slay the dragons, but we're going to be here to support you, and we give you advice.
I like that analogy. I always fancy myself King Arthur, so that yeah, works well. No, couldn't agree more. And actually, we sit on a lot of innovation committees. So one of the things we offer is, hey, look, we're here to help. We're here for you to bounce ideas off. So we'll come along once a month and we'll sit there on your committee, and we'll tell you whether you're in the lines or outside the lines. If they're going, oh, I've got this great idea, and you're going, no, hang on a second, you're not actually pushing this as far as you should be pushing this. Think further, think deeper. And
Uh-huh.
that's a fascinating place for us to be in.
Nice. So we only have a minute left,
Mm.
and I'm thinking that the way you're not talking about technology so much. You're talking about like you need to change your mind, you need to be able to innovate, and you need to think things through. So it's like the thinking is more important than the technology.
It's a people problem. I
Hmm.
fundamentally, I think it's a people problem, or a people challenge is probably a better way of putting it. Yeah, you need
Or
to
cultural, your organization.
cultural, cultural, specifically to law. It is a huge challenge to get over that mindset. And if you can
It's
find the
okay to
right
think
way of
differently.
doing it, yeah, it's okay. And also, and this is something people really struggle with, it's okay not to be okay about AI. And what I mean by that is that even the innovators don't really know what's happening right now, because even OpenAI don't understand how their own model works. So
Uh-huh.
you don't need certainty. You just need conviction that this is the direction of travel, and you just need to go for it.
Even
And
if you buy something, it's going to be obsolete the next week.
so you can understand why people are so
You can't.
resistant to it, right? What bets should I place on this poker table right now? And it's that fog that everyone sits within. But the people who are making waves, the real innovators, are going, you know what? I'm just going to kind of, to use your analogy, I'm going to take my magic wand and I'm going to charge into that fog until I figure out what's on the other side. And that's like the lesson that I wish more people in our industry learnt, and had the kind of the gumption to really kind of go and do it.
Nice. All right.
Mm.
Well, we have to stop there. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Can you
Thank you.
tell people where your website is?
Yep, for sure. So we're at www.purple.law, as in the color. Very, very nice and simple, purple.law. So come check us out. And yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been good fun, and
All right.
yeah, nice to find a similar mind in the industry.
It's been really fun. I think I'd like to connect with you again
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
you'd
Let's do it
allow. All right. Well,
for
thank
sure.
you very much. And I wish
Excellent.
the audience happy automating.